G'day guys, Anthony Ross here with another Mental Toughness Made Simple video. This week I want to talk about what will be for many of you the simplest way to help your players or help your child improve in the next few months. This includes technical help, physical help, all things included. If you do this one thing, if you improve the way you do this one thing, it will for sure be very, very helpful, and in my opinion, probably the most helpful thing you can do. So here's the deal. So when players compete, they are frequently experiencing two types of thoughts. So the unintentional thoughts and intentional thoughts. So the intentional thoughts are the thoughts like perhaps strategy. So they might choose a strategy, say hit it to their backhand. It might be a cue like reach up high on my serve. It might be sort of an intentional motivational statement they might use, like just this point or enjoy the battle or something like that. The unintentional thoughts are the automatic thoughts that show up frequently, pretty much continuously throughout matches as we compete, based on the situation and our history within similar situations. So nervous thoughts like don't mess it up, or you're going to mess it up, frustration-related thoughts like that's not good enough, you should be doing better, that's not fair, helpless thoughts like there's nothing you can do, I don't know what to do, outcome, and all sorts of outcome-related thoughts throughout the match, predictions of what might happen and so forth. So these are the automatic, unintentional thoughts that show up, and what I want to talk to you guys about relates to these unintentional thoughts. It's how we encourage our players to respond to these unintentional thoughts that are frequently showing up. So what coaches typically do is in some way communicate that players should try to control these thoughts or reduce these thoughts or avoid these thoughts. So if you watch yourself talk to your players, or if you're a parent talking to your child, you will likely pick up that in some way you're encouraging your players to do this. This may make sense at first thought, but because these thoughts are really based on the situation and the player's history within similar situations, the problem with this is that it's very, very hard for players to control these thoughts or influence these thoughts in the moment. So instead, what we want to do is to normalize these thoughts, and instead of trying to encourage our players to control these thoughts or have less of the difficult unintentional thoughts, we want to normalize it, and we want to just simply tell them to practice noticing these thoughts when they show up, practice accepting them. So our whole communication needs to be around explaining to our players that they are normal based on the situation, that the idea is not to try to control them, not to try to reduce them, and instead, by noticing and normalizing them, what happens over time is our players will get fitter at having these thoughts. They will get more okay with having these thoughts. They won't have extra thoughts, extra criticism of themselves about having these difficult thoughts. And over time, what happens is they will be less worried about having difficult thoughts, and they'll be more skilled to just notice them. So we want them to notice the thoughts. Okay, yep, there's that thought. It's showing up based on the situation. It's not showing up because I have less emotional control than other players and so forth. And the skill here is once we notice the unintentional thoughts, we want to just simply encourage our players to practice notice and then shifting attention onto the helpful process with the intentional thinking from there. So it's a subtle difference, but it's super, super powerful. If you get good at this, over time, players will generally, within a few months, generally see a lot better competitive responses. In some cases, it's just like magical, that players will start competing better straight away because it's like a weight. If you do it well, it's like a weight comes off their shoulders, and they just feel so much better about the idea that it's not their lack of emotional control, it's the reality that these unintentional thoughts are there based on the experience of competing. So Yeah, I would really encourage you guys to try this idea out. And as I said, if you do it well, I absolutely believe from my experience that it is the simplest way to help our players improve and compete more successfully. So have a great week. Cheers.